All right guys, so now we're gonna talk about some setup and progressions, some gear you might wanna use, and different ways to approach the bar so that you're a little more successful when you're attempting these muscle ups. Guys, so first thing we're gonna talk about, grips. You wanna protect your hands because if you're doing some muscle up progressions or you're having a really good day, kind of making progress or getting more reps, the last thing you wanna do is tear your hands and kind of ruin that momentum. So I use Bear Complex grips, but there are a ton of companies that make them. Find ones that work for you and make sure they're the right size for your hands. We're gonna talk about that in just a second. So now let's talk about approaching the bar. Your hand position is far more important than you realize when you get up on the pull-up bar. So we don't want to be holding with our fingertips, we want to be holding with our palms. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second, the difference. So when I jump up to this bar, I'm getting my hands all the way over the top. If I'm holding from my fingertips, it's going to be hard to do even pull-ups from this position. So you want to be fully over the top of the bar. And then to add on to that, since I'm already here, we're gonna reiterate that shoulder position, right? We don't wanna be passive. We don't wanna be hanging loose. We wanna be as high as we can be, keeping those lats engaged and pulling those shoulders away from the ear. Now let's talk about how to use your grips, right? They're not just there to protect your hand, but you can actually use them to assist both your grip and your stability on the bar. There's two ways to do it, or at least two of the most common ways are. The first one is more of like a gymnastics pinch. So what it is if you notice, there's space in this grip. It's a little longer than it is to my fingers. What I'm doing when I'm getting up on the bars, I'm actually getting a little bit of a lip and then holding that lip over the bar. What that does is it actually allows more of my wrist to take the pressure than just my hand alone, which lets you do larger sets. The other way to do it as well is to actually not have the grip over the hand, but allow it to flap over the bar, and it's doing roughly the same thing. So both of these are preference, but they're gonna save your grip in the long run and have you more connected to the bar than just having a grip that's tight up against the hand, only protecting the skin. How we're gonna progress into a muscle up, right? Assuming we already know how to kip, we're gonna take our kip and just make it larger and larger and larger. And what we're learning here is timing, right? We need to learn how far to let ourselves out in the arch and then how much to kip into the hollow, right? So one way we can do this is by basically just taking a kip and making it larger and larger and larger without ever doing a pulling motion per se. So what that looks like is we're gonna set up underneath the bar and we're gonna start with a really small kip as if we were learning again, and then we're just gonna branch that out. I'm allowing myself to get behind the bar. That's okay for a muscle up. We talk a lot in CrossFit about keeping bars close, whether it's Olympic lifting, pull-ups, anything else like that. The idea of this kind of flips a little bit because we want the bar closer to the center of our body, not to our chest. And I think that's a big mistake people make early on. So they're trying to pull the bar to their chest, and we want to pull the bar to our hips. And you guys can use to work that turnover, because that's normally the hardest part. That's the missing element. If we're strong enough to do a pull-up, we're strong enough to do a dip, now we have to have the timing of a turnover. So we set up a half bar, or if we really have to, we can use a low bar in our gyms and elevate whatever we're pushing our feet off of. We're gonna set up with a bench. Now I've got dumbbells at the end of this bench so that they don't slide. And all I'm gonna do is push off with my feet, pull with straight arms to the bar, and then I'm gonna work on doing a mid-air sit-up. What does that mean? All I'm trying to do is use my core to flip myself over the bar. This is what it looks like. And with a little bit more momentum, we can get over it a little easier. So practice that. Practice your turnover position, pushing your head through and getting your chest over the bar.